Is the market value for homes impacted by school grades? There's a lot of talk about that lately, especially in Hillsborough County, because the school district is talking about shifting school boundaries. So that's what I'm talking about today, so stick around. Hi, welcome back. My name's Joe Brown. I'm a realtor with Century 21 List with Beggins, located in South Tampa. Thank you so much for being here with me today. So I just want to remind everybody, if you don't know, I am now a real estate agent. I'm a realtor. However, for 35 years, I was in education. And for the last 19 of those years, I was a middle school principal. So I'm very aware of, first of all, Hillsborough County School District, but also figuring out school grades. And I'll just tell you my bias, right? I'll tell you a little bit about my background, but school grades do not tell the story. And I'll talk about that in a second. So I am in physical therapy. I have a problem with my shoulders. And I was in physical therapy 2 weeks ago, and a gentleman came in and was just talking about the shifts, the different proposals that Hillsborough County School District put out about new boundaries, especially affecting South Tampa. And he was very upset. He said, they want to send my kids to a C school. Now, I was trying to be quiet, trying to stay out of the conversation, but my physical therapist said, well, Dr. Brown used to be at the school district. She said, Joe, what do you think? I said, listen, if you change the population in the school, you are going to change school grade. And the gentleman said, what? What does student population have to do with school grades? And that is a misconception that's out there in the public, that the general public, many people think a school grade talks about the quality of the teaching in the school. And that is not it at all. So I'm here in this video. I just want to give some explanation, right, to my statement and hopefully understand school grade. And I'll share a series of charts which kind of proves my point. So let's just talk about school grade. Well, what constitutes a school grade? And it varies by level. So elementary school, now understand that with the FSA, Florida Standards Assessment, going away, there's going to be a new grading system coming into place. I was a principal for 19 years, and the school grading system changed 5 times in those 19 years. So I had to stay ahead of the curve, knowing and being able to interpret the data. But here's how it works now. In elementary school, there are 5 components that a school is graded on. Middle school, there are 9, and high school, there are many. And high school is a different animal because of the advanced placement test and some of the CE credits that kids can get. So I will talk from a middle school perspective, right? So there are categories called proficiency. And a proficiency is just a cut score. And so if students reach that cut score, they're considered proficient. And so 4 of the components look at the percent of students who are proficient in reading, math, science, and social studies. And so again, kids take the test, and then it's a percent. So I'll just use round numbers. If there's 100 students that take, let's say, the civics test, and 50 of them are proficient, so the school gets 50 points, 50% is 50 points in civics. But then they look at the other areas, reading, math, science, and social studies. But then they also look at growth. And to look at growth, you look at how students did last year and whether they made progress this year. And that progress, they don't have to get to proficient, but they have to score at new cut levels. And each year they're tested, there's a new cut level. And so again, if 100 students take the test and we say, well, 40% of the kids made gains, okay, so then a school gets 40 points. And then the last two categories is we look at the lowest quartile of the kids, right? So the neediest kids in school, how did they do? And so they look at, out of the lowest kids in school, the lowest quartile, did they make gains? So you have 4 scores for proficiency. You look at gain scores for reading and math. Then you look at gain scores for reading and math for the lowest quartile. And you add all those points up, and you're given a point total. And that point total then falls on a scale of the school gets an A, a B, a C, or a D, and there are ranges. So nowhere in there did I talk about number of teachers who have master's degrees or number of teachers making gains or experience of teachers, right? It doesn't have to do with teachers themselves. It has to do with the impact teachers have on students. So, and when I talked to parents, they didn't understand this, right? They thought school of an A meant the teachers are better. So my experience, I was a principal at 4 different schools. 3 of the schools were Title I schools. And at one point I was sent to a school that was rated a D. And I was at that school for 3 years. And during those 3 years, we gained the second most points in the district over those 3 years. And the teachers were absolutely phenomenal. But because I'll tell you, at a school like that, a D school or whatever, for kids to make gains, the teachers had to be spot on. The teachers had to be engaging with the students and encouraging students and really pushing the students beyond where they believed they could achieve. Well, then I was moved from there to a very high-performing A school. And I tell you, the teachers there, absolutely wonderful. I love those teachers. However, the quality of teaching was less than at the school that went from a D to a C. Because there are a group of students who are going to achieve no matter who their teachers are. Right? So 2 schools, one was a solid C school, one was an A school. The quality of teachers at that C school was better than at the A school. Now, again, not saying anything against the teachers. They're wonderful people. And the school maintained the A. But it's the population of students really determines the grade of the grade that a school gets. And let me share with you a couple charts. So the first chart I want to show is just Hillsborough County Middle School. Names are removed, right? This is a scatter plot. Let me put this chart up here. And you'll see across the bottom are the points possible for a school to attain. And then on the vertical axis is the percent of students on free and reduced lunch. We consider that economically disadvantaged. So you see, the higher you go on the economic disadvantage scale, typically the lower the points attained by the school. And so you can see that downward trend as As school earns more points, the percent of free and reduced lunch also goes down. Now, from a statistician standpoint, you look at some outliers. So you see a couple schools that have very low economic disadvantage, but they're also scoring very low point-wise. And then on the reverse, you see some schools with high economic disadvantage students scoring very well. So those are the outliers. But the typical trend is the higher the economic disadvantaged students, the lower the total points scored. But this isn't true just for middle school. Let me show you the high school scale. Now, again, high school is a different animal because there are different grading components in there. But you can see in this chart, the trend continues. You can see that downward slant. Now, just to convince you that this is not a Hillsborough County specific problem, let me share with you the state of Florida. So this first chart is all middle schools in the state of Florida. So there are hundreds of middle schools, and you can see this trend continues. Same thing with high school. Here's the high school chart. Again, hundreds of high schools throughout the state. So just by sharing this chart, you can see that the student population at school really drives school grade. So what does all this mean? So first of all, Hillsborough County, the school district, has to make changes. They absolutely need to make changes for boundaries. There was a school I was principal at many years ago, and when I first got there, there were 1,200 students in the school. I became principal and we had about 750 students. Right now, that school is sitting with 350 students in that same school. The building can hold 900, and there's 350. But then there's another school built for 900 students, and it's sitting at 1,200 students. And the school is only 3 miles, these two schools are only 3 miles apart. So for the most efficient use of buildings and funds, the district has to make changes. Parents are up in arms because, wait a second, you're going to take my kid from an A school and send them to a C school. Well, again, if the student population drives school grade, then if you change the student population at the school, that school could very well become an A school. When I was at Madison, and I'll use the school name, well, we were a C school. 8 students, 8, would have changed the school to a B school. Just 8 students. I did all the calculations, I know. 8 students in the right category, we would have been a B school. 30 students, we would have been an A school. Right? So either you take 30 students away from me, but 30 of the right students away from me, or give me 30 proficient students, we would be an A school. And so we're not talking hundreds and hundreds of kids. 30 students would have changed school grade from a C to an A. The same is true throughout these different schools. So as a parent, do you want your child to go to an A school? Well, if the district goes through with these redistricting plans and shift, right, the demographics at the school, those schools will very well be an A school. And so parents will say, yes, we're an A school. What will that do to property values? Parents want to send their kid to an A school, so those areas, property values are going to increase. I know it. Now, there are some parents that are so involved with name. I don't care if my kid goes to an A school, but I want them to go to Plant. I want them to go to Coleman or Wilson, right? They're tied to a name and not school grade. And I get that, right? That's personal preference. Sometimes it's, what's it called? Heritage, right? But I went to Wilson, I want my kid to go to Wilson. I went to Plant, I want my kid to go to Plant. I understand that. But for the parents who are afraid, you're sending my kid to a C school, well, the demographics are going to be different. So it may not be a C school. And a letter of a C or a D or a B or an A does not speak to the quality of teaching and the engagement of students. But I had a experience with a parent when her son was moving from 5th grade to 6th grade, did not want her son to go to my school. Not that it was my school, but she had just heard the reputation. Oh, it's a C school. And so I talked to her, and I had one of our students talk to her. This parent ended up sending her son, said, I'll give you 9 weeks. The kid absolutely loved the school. The parent ended up loving the school, became very active in the PTA. The kid's now in high school. They've asked me for letters of reference. Why do I share this? Because it's not about school grade, right? It's about the involvement of teachers and the interaction with students and student engagement. And are kids having fun, or are they learning? So all those things you can't measure in a school grade. So anyway, I just wanted to put this video out there, help the general public understand what school grades mean, and how this redistricting plan is not as bad as some people are making out, right? It's for a purpose. District has to make changes. The wrong decision would be no decision, right? The district has to do something to make the most efficient use of funds. Thank you for being here. Please leave comments. Share this with friends and family who you think need to hear this. If you want some more information about school grades, reach out to me, send me an email. The charts I shared with you, I created the chart myself, but all the data is available at the fldoe.org website. Look under accountability, look at school grades, and you can look at this information yourself, whether it's for elementary school, middle school, high school, K-8, charter, whatever, right? And I just want to put this information out there to kind of relieve the stress that some families are feeling. Check out my website, joebrownc21.com. Send me questions, leave comments. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I love sharing this information with you because South Tampa, Florida living is awesome.